Welcome everyone, my name is Larry Karnas and I run ESXLab. In this video I'm going to show you how to connect to the ESXLab remote vSphere lab environment using two methods. First via RDP and second via our HTML5 to RDP gateway. So let's get to it. First of all, if you rent labs from ESXLab, you're going to receive a lab release email that includes all of the access information for you to reach out to and connect to our labs. What I've done is I've put key information in a little notepad window. So what you'll get with a lab release is you'll get the actual internet fully qualified name of the lab, you'll get the non-standard port that redirects to your lab, you'll get an AD account username and an AD account password that will allow you to successfully log into that lab environment. The usernames are recycled, but the passwords are generated automatically for each new lab environment. Once you're done with the labs, they're torn down and rebuilt from scratch. They are never recycled. So anything you do in one lab will not survive the next use of that hardware. Okay, with that being said, let's get to it. So the preferred way of connecting to our remote lab environment is with Microsoft RDS RDP, Remote Desktop Services Remote Desktop Protocol. And the way you do that is you run the Microsoft Terminal Services client. I use it so much, I have it right on the taskbar. And yes, you probably already noticed I'm one of those people who's still running Windows 10 or Windows 7. You know what? It works for me. It works. It's already installed on the notebook, and I don't feel any major compelling reason to upgrade. But my desktop OS is not really relevant. So let's get to it. The other thing I can do is I can just go to Start, and in any search box, I can type the full name of the Terminal Services Client program, which is Microsoft MSTSC, Terminal Services Client. It pops up in the roster, so I just click it. And what it does is it takes me to the most recently accessed computer. So I'm just going to wipe out what's there, and I'm going to type in the RDP string, the whole thing. Actually, I'm just going to copy it and paste it in because I'm lazy. Then I'm going to expand options, and I'm going to just swipe and add the AD domain, ESXLab /user4. The other thing I can do is I can set display preferences. So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to go full screen. I'd also like to give you a couple things to think about regarding color depth. We're just going to a remote computer, and there we're just going to do system administration. We don't need high color. And the lower the color resolution, the less network bandwidth it takes to refresh your screen, which means your screen refreshes in a snappier, more responsive manner. So I tend to go with 16-bit color. And so from here, I can just click Connect. And what happens is it pops up and says, okay, well, in order for me to auto log in, I need your password. And you can see my password is here. So I'm going to copy and paste it in, no problem. And then I say OK, and what happens is the Terminal Services Client sets up an encrypted connection with the Windows machine that you're going to use as the foundation for accessing all of your lab services. And we use self-signed digital certificates because lab environments are built, used, and then torn down on a regular basis. We don't really feel the need to set up permanent signed digital certificates. So what you would normally do is just say, don't ask me again. I'm going to skip that step and say yes. And you can see here what it does is it pops me into a Windows server. You can see down in the corner 2008 R2 standard desktop. And we use the 180-day evaluation license for this. So this is not a version of Windows that's been activated with a valid license key on Microsoft. We're happily taking advantage of Microsoft's generosity to just use the lab environment for up to 180 days without having to activate. Now, from here, you see that this is nothing special. And the reason why it's nothing special is because we haven't pre-installed anything for you. We haven't done any configuration work for you. Instead, what we've done is we've given you remote access to a Windows Server 2008 desktop inside the lab environment, behind the lab's firewall. And this remote lab environment, while not being pre-configured, is sitting on a network that has DNS, DHCP, Active Directory, SMB shares, NFS shares that are both pre-populated with media images for vSphere media, for guest OSs, for applications and tools. There's also an iSCSI SAN, and in fact, everything else you need to build your vSphere environment, and that's what you're going to do with our remote lab environment. You're going to build your vSphere environment from scratch. So there you go. We've just accessed Windows. And so I'm going to show you the second method now. And to do that, what I'm going to do is log off the remote Windows machine. And here's the problem we're trying to solve. Suppose you try to reach out to our remote lab environment, doing exactly what I just showed you, and you get blocked. Perhaps your corporate firewall doesn't allow outbound RDP. That's a very common configuration. It's done for security reasons. Well, there is a plan B. So I'm just going to use Chrome here. And what we'll do is we will browse to portal2.esxlab.com. This is our HTML5 to RDP gateway. And literally what it does is it proxies RDP through to an HTML5 web interface. Now, I should point out that this gateway, portal2.esxlab.com, has been locked down, so it will only proxy connections through to our remote lab environment. It will not allow you to proxy connections through to other machines on the internet, so sorry, that's just not going to work. And over on the right, I'm just going to pop open the connection information we use to connect to the lab. So it says computer. So the computer that I'm connecting to is this machine right here. So I'm just going to copy that in and paste. Not the port number, just the computer. Now, the port number is a non-standard RDP port, so we have to erase the standard RDP port and put in the non-standard RDP port. My username is just this, the username for my domain. So just user4, not the domain account, just the username. The password I can copy and paste in to here. And you'll notice there's an extra field right there for the domain. So I just simply grab the domain, I put it in here, and I have now provided all of the information necessary to reach out to the same lab environment using a web browser. I want to show you one more thing though. On the display tab, the default is that we get a full browser screen or a full screen, and it's high color. So what I can do is I can change the color definition I want, and I can go ahead and go full browser or full screen. So let's go back to general, and from here I just click connect. Because we're going full browser, what I get is the same remote lab access desktop in a browser tab, and it's completely interactive. So what I can do is I can see the same BG info information. I can go ahead and run programs, whatever. Let's just start Firefox, just for grins. Now, starting Firefox is actually quite useful because it shows that within your remote lab environment, you have access to the internet. Our firewalls that protect our remote lab environment allow a limited amount of outbound access. That includes HTTP, HTTPS, and a couple of other things. It specifically does not allow any kind of outbound mail, file sharing, or anything like that. So you can't use it as a BitTorrent site. You can't spin up a mail server. You can't use it to spam the internet. We've taken a significant number of precautions to make sure that our lab use is just that. It's great for labs, but nothing else. And just like before, when you're done, either done with the labs permanently or just done for the day, you can go ahead and log off. And that closes your lab session. And when you're done with our remote lab portal, you can just go ahead and close that too. And there you go. Those are two different ways for accessing the ESXLab vSphere 6.5, 6.7 remote lab environment. The preferred method is RDP, but if that doesn't work for you, the second method is our HTML5 to RDP gateway portal. And that's it. I'm Larry Karnes. This is ESXLab's How to Access Our Lab Environment video. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.